Hi and welcome to Naresh IT. I'm Muniba and yet again with you with another session on interview skills. Now this is very important and this is a question on everybody's mind, how to crack an interview. But there are things before going to an interview, so which you should take care of, which many of us overlook, thinking, okay, it's not a big deal, it happens and I learn from attending interviews. But that's not the right approach. So here first what I'm going to do is, we're going to talk about the tips that you should consider before going for an interview. And later on, we'll be discussing the most commonly asked interview questions in the HR rounds and what are the mistakes that you make in those questions and what should be avoided. So moving on to the first session, that would be how to attend interviews, like what are the tips to attend interviews. The first and foremost is dress formally. Now here, when we know it's a professional setup that you will be entering, so people expect you to be in formals. Now here you all know what formals are. Everybody would have a pair of formals with them. So it's always better to be ready with your formals, and that means your formal pant and shirt and your formal shoes. And again, well pressed and well polished. All this is what they are looking for. At the same time, dress formally and you have to look professional. Go properly groomed and not like just casually you're entering somewhere like you're in your jeans or your t-shirt. That's not the right way to attend interviews. So because that plays a very important role. That's the first impression you're creating on your interviewer's mind, and that definitely you want to make a positive impression. Then the next one is, many of us forget this. It's like carrying copies of your documents. Now what are the documents that you will carry with you? First and foremost is your resume or CV, and the second one is like all your important educational qualifications, your academic records, and then you can even include your certifications if you have any which you want to showcase and flaunt it. And when you're carrying it, try to carry at least 2 sets, because if they ask you for it, then you should be in a position to give it to them. But never make a mistake of getting the copies done on the day of your interview. This is a common mistake which everybody makes. Because of that, what happens is you reach late for your interview and there's a lot of mismanagement happening. So try to get a set of your documents well in advance, and do check them before leaving that everything is in place. And the next one is your time management. Now again, why this is an important factor for your interviews is because they consider you to be a serious candidate only when you manage your time. So if you are into the habit of reaching places late or going everywhere late, you have to stop doing that, because now if you want the interviewer to take you seriously, you actually have to be on time. Now I wouldn't say on time, I would say in time. So try to go before the time of interview. For example, your interview is scheduled at 10 o'clock in the morning. So don't start at 9 or 9:30, because if you don't know the place, it's always better to know the location where your interview is scheduled, because that would save you time and you'll have a rough idea how much time it approximately takes you. Because to be honest, interviews don't take those people seriously who turn up late for interviews. In fact, they may not even conduct your interview and they may send you back. So definitely you don't want to land in that position, so it's always better you manage your time. Then the next one is background check. Now what are we talking about here? The background check is to know about the company that you're going for. So here many of us go through consultancies, or you can say we go through online job portals, and we just go, okay, because there's an opening or there's just a walk-in. What we usually do here is we do not check about background of the company, what the company is, what the company does, and that's where we make a mistake, because one of the questions that would be asked is, what do you know about the company? There you cannot give an excuse that I don't know, it was just a walk-in and I came, or my consultancy sent me, so I thought I'll know about it later. No. When you know about the company or try to gain some information about the company, that implies that you are actually interested in that position. And at the same time, you should know what position you are applying for, so that you can correlate that with your strengths and with your achievements or with your knowledge of that particular subject. So all in all, background check of the company is very important. Now that doesn't depend, you have to know everything about the company, but brief about the company where you are in a position to answer that question. Then the next one is practice. Now what do you have to practice here? It's like going to the interview? No. It's like practicing the questions, like the questions that we would be discussing in the latter part. So here you're going to face yourself before a mirror, or you can record yourself, because here what happens is when you go with practice, when you try to answer these questions in advance, you'll be in a position to answer confidently, and you'll know what kind of answers to give for particular questions. So at that time you'll be quite quick, and in your answers you would not take much time to answer simple questions. So practicing the various questions that can be asked. So it's like anticipation is very important. You think, okay, they may ask me this particular question, so I am going to answer it this way. So that is really going to help you and build your confidence. And last is when we say confident approach. Now by this we don't mean like I say, okay, I'm very confident, I'm going for an interview. No, that doesn't help you. How can you show, like how can you go with a confident approach? It's like you say, okay, I'm going for an interview, I know I'm the right candidate for this because this job requires this qualification or this experience, and I think I'm a suitable candidate for this because I have vast experience behind me, or I have vast knowledge behind me, and this is what I'm carrying with me for the interview, and this is what I can do. Okay, so these are the few tips that you need to keep in mind to be able to successfully attend an interview. So if you're doing this, this is going to be the right approach, and this is what happens, like you start on a confident note, and definitely things are going to work in your favor. So the next set, what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the commonly asked interview questions in HR rounds, and what are the ways, like those questions are asked. Probably what happens is one question may be asked in 2-3 different ways. We'll discuss those, then we'll discuss the usual answers or the common answers that candidates give, and is it right, or what can be the right way to answer those questions. Okay, before I start the commonly asked questions in HR rounds, I would like to tell you a few things which you need to keep in mind. Very simple things, but they make a lot of difference. Okay, what happens is usually we enter the room, okay, we are already halfway through and we say, may I come in? Now, are you really asking for permission, or you've already entered and then you're asking? So here you have to decide. So please wait for permission to be granted and then enter the room. That's the first mistake that we make. Okay, and the second thing is now whether to seat yourself or wait for instructions to be given. Usually what the interviewers do is they ask you to make yourself comfortable. So here, without making noise, pull your chair and seat yourself. And how should you seat yourself? Now please do not slouch in the chair where you're it's like you're bending like this, or you're relaxing in a very relaxed mode as if you're watching a movie. That's not the right position to sit. So you can sit like you can have your hands on the table, or you can have your hands on your lap. That is the right way to do it. And please do not hold your pen or anything that you're carrying with you, because that will make you fidgety. You'll be using that a lot, and that would be a distraction. And then please keep your mobile phones in silent mode. Preferably if you switch it off, that would be good, but if not, then you can keep it in silent mode, but do not keep it in vibration mode. That's a big no. Okay, and once you seat yourself, the first thing, that very common mistake that we make is we have a resume in our hand and we're carrying that in a folder. So please do not give it along with the folder. That's not the right thing to do. So what you're going to do is you're going to remove your resume from the folder and then hand it over to the interviewer, and wait for the interviewer to ask you questions. All right, so that's the right way to do it. And please have that smile on your face, that $1 million smile on your face, which I always say, because that is going to boost your confidence during the interview. So once you are comfortably seated, they'll definitely ask you, okay, fine, how are you doing today? And just to make you approachable and where you feel confident enough to answer the questions. So what you do now here is wait for the questions. Now the first question that comes, it could be for any position, whether it's a fresher position or an experienced position. That's usually like at any levels, that's the first question that they ask. It's like, tell me about yourself. And that's the most important question, because that's the first question where you get a chance to create an impression about yourself. Now here, they can ask you, tell me about yourself, okay, walk me through your resume, or for example, they take your name. Sometimes what they do is they trick the interviewees by taking the name. So what they do, okay, Nikhil, tell me about yourself. So what do you do at this time? What we usually do is we say, okay, fine, myself Nikhil. Okay, now is that right? No, because if you're saying myself Nikhil, that's a grammatical mistake. You cannot say that. You say this is Nikhil. Can you say that? No, you cannot say this is Nikhil, because this is Nikhil is, you'll say it if you're introducing yourself over the phone. But if it's a face-to-face introduction, you will not say this is. You'll say I am, or you can say my name is. But now as the interviewer has already taken your name, you're not going to say my name is Nikhil, unless he takes it the wrong way, Nikhil or something like that. Then you can correct, it's actually Nikhil and not that way. Fine. But if they've already taken your name, please do not make a mistake of taking your name again. Alright. So now when they say tell me about yourself, or they can even say, because what happens is, if they're not asking this question, they usually ask the second question, walk me through your resume. So some people do not understand and they try to ask again, sorry, I didn't get your question, can you ask again? So there is no problem, it means the same thing. You're telling them what you have in your resume and you're making it brief. You're not elaborating it, but making it very short. And then, now what should you include in your first question, or tell me about yourself? Now this is very important, as I said, because you're creating an impression about yourself here. Now we call it the PPF approach. Now what is PPF approach? It's called past, present, future. So here in that introduction of yours, you're including what you've achieved in the past and what you're doing in the present and what you expect out in the future for you. So here, now what are the things that you should include in your introduction? So when we say name, academics, strengths, alright. Now in what order do we go? Please do not follow this order, my name is this, I am from this place, I am this, that becomes very monotonous, because everybody, you're not the first person who's giving the interview, there are many others before you, or there will be many others after you. So here you have to be different, and how are you going to do that? Now what you do is, you take your name and you take your strength and correlate that with an achievement of yours. So what you can do is, rather than telling your entire academic score, for example, I achieved this much percentage in this academics from this college in this year, no, that's already there. So why do you want to repeat that information? And so what you can do here is, I'll give you a very simple example. So here, this is just an example. So you can have your own explanation or your own self-introduction. So we'll say, now when they say, Nikhil, tell me about yourself. So what I'll say is, hello, I'll just have a formal wish. I'll say hello, as you already know my name. To tell about myself, I would like to say I am presently looking for a job, and I have completed my academics. You'll talk about your academics, which I did my BTech with a good percentage, or I am a consistent performer, and that you can see in my academic score as well. For example, throughout your score you've had 70, 75, 65%. So you can call yourself a consistent performer. What you're doing here is, you're not telling about your percentages. You're telling about a strength, and that strength help you achieve that percentage. Because the moment you say that, they're going to look at your percentage in your resume. So that is one way of saying it. Please do not include your family details in your personal introduction, because that is not what they are looking for. And many people make this mistake. I belong to a family of 4 or 5, my father is this, my mother is this. That is irrelevant. Please do not include that information at all. So it's always your name. If they've already taken, avoid your name, and then go with your strengths and how you achieved those academics because of those strengths of yours. For example, you can say, I've been a very hard worker throughout my life. That shows, and that achievement shows in my academic score as well. So here, don't talk about all your academics. Now, if you don't want to say it this way, you want to talk about your academic percentage, then you will just have to speak about the last 2 academics and not from the last till the beginning. No, do not do that. Just the last 2 is enough. Okay. Now, these are the things that you need to include for your first question. Now, the next question can be, tell me about your career objective. Now, there are 2 things. Either because that's the first information they find in your resume. It's your career objective or yourself. So, if this is not the first question, then the next question can be, tell me about your career objective. So, when that question comes, what many people do is, they by heart the career objective. So they say, I would like to work in a progressive company, blah, 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 like whatever you've written in your career objective. Avoid doing that, because here what I want you to do is, have your own career objective in your own words, so that it becomes easier for you to express that. But please do not mug it up and memorize it word for word, where you're having it like, it looks like, okay, the person is saying entirely what's there. So you should know what your career objective is and try to frame that in your own sentences, and literally it should mean similar to that but not exactly that. So that should be about your career objective. Then we'll move on to the next question.